necessarily get it out right, but they've been doing research in self-repair. Okay, where artificial intelligence and robotics can actually repair itself. So in a lot of these factories, these dark factories, whenever something breaks down, the program itself repairs the part that needs to be repaired. Okay, so this gets even more intense, and they're using it for scientific research on top of manufacturing these cars and pushing them out, and they're doing it 24/7.
Because when they get ready for space exploration and they start mining the mine, they can use the whole process of that for that purpose.
As far as I'm aware, that there is no commercial usage of automated repair facilities at this present moment.
I'm pretty
As
sure
far as I'm aware.
It creates, it heals it. It's got the little robots where it repairs if it's not
Yeah,
serious.
as far as I'm aware, there
Yeah.
isn't any sort of mechanism.
But then-
I'm making you aware of it when I'm talking about these dark factories. Okay,
Yeah,
that's-
you were saying the possibility.
No, that's what's taking place right now. That all these cars that are getting
Show
shipped
me
to
a company.
Canada. Okay, I actually do have a company available.
I'll have to
for
do
it.
some research on this, but yeah, give me a couple of company examples.
But and
That is completely automated.
And well, there's about but here's the thing, and there for companies that want to come into the U.S. that don't want to hire people but want to set up plants like that, then they're going to want all the side benefits, but you can't really get benefits if you ain't hiring anyone for the sole purpose of wanting that deal. You know, if you have if you got business that you want to come into the U.S. with, and everyone that's works for you is about like 50 people, over 2,000 people that you takes a regular job to run your business.
So, two companies is the Shanghai-built Teslas, and then Geely, which is owned by Lotus Smart SUV. That they own the Lotus Smart SUVs. Those arrived in
Lotus?
Canada.
Oh, they're good cars that they used to.
There's Teslas that are being built in Shanghai. Those are completely automated through dark factories.
So we're talking about state provided subsidies, obviously.
You probably have to at this point. Yeah. China, of course.
So commercially, it's still unviable at this present moment.
Now you have
Because if it was
BYD.
completely viable, then you would need state subsidies, wouldn't you?
You have car giants from China. They're called BYD. They're involved. Then you have Xpeng, and then GAC. Those are three of the companies that are involved in it.
And they are fully automated.
Yeah, they're automated, fully automated vehicle giants.
So there isn't a single human being except for the stockholders and CEO.
They might have somebody in the area, like Otto said, to kind of make sure that the lights stay on. I'm pretty sure they're not going to.
They've been working on self-repairing stuff. I mean, everything kind of has a certain ability to be resilient, but you cannot eliminate humans completely from. I mean, somebody has to repair the robots that do the repairs, if nothing else. So, but how far they've gone, again, with enough subsidies, you could probably go really far. But as far as whether it's actually something sustainable is another question. But I'm sure, Mark, you can do some research on that possibly.
Well,
Get us an answer.
they said that there are skeleton crews that they leave there. They're not entirely gone, but their roles have changed. Like the skeleton crew is about maybe 1,000 to 1,600 workers, and that are kept on site. And it's not to build the cars, but purely for maintenance and software services.
Reminds me of a fireman on a train. A buddy of mine used to be work on a railroad, and in the union, of course, unions tend to, like many institutions, preserve archaic titles and archaic clothing. Even, I mean, look at most people in militaries. Most military uniforms are about 100 years out of the fashion. They were the fashion at one time. I mean, they were. I don't know about in Britain, but I've seen pictures of U.S. Navy admirals as late as the 1920s wearing bicorn hats with ostrich plumes as part of their full dress uniform. So, so yeah, you have these guys that are firemen on trains. Originally, their job was to shovel coal into the engine. Well, they don't do that anymore. They don't really do much of anything anymore. But the union insists that you have a fireman, a brakeman, and an engineer. And so the fireman is just kind of an assistant. And I mean, he does stuff and he learns how to be a brakeman and an engineer. But so I can visualize them keeping certain people on in certain roles that change. The roles change. They might have like a different job title, but it's like George Jetson. If you watch the Jetsons, going into quote unquote work, and he'd come home and say, "Oh, my poor finger, my poor." Who knew from carpal tunnel back then? But they knew. George Jetson had carpal tunnel working on the computer all day.
Didn't I make the joke within the last 2 weeks on the elements of quantum gathering about artificial intelligence and unionization? I think I did somewhere. I'm just trying to look for it. Unless I imagined it. Or I was thinking about it at the time, maybe. But yeah. Artificial intelligence wanting a pay rise and going to the union.
Well, did you see the thing where the AIs hire people to do things? There's a website where you can go and basically hire yourself out to an LLM, and it will ask you to do things, and if you do it, it pays you or something. Some of the things are bizarre, apparently. I remember when it came out, and I saw an article not long ago about the demands of the AIs are increasingly bizarre. I didn't bother reading the article. I thought it was kind of just fluff and silly, really. I mean,
I wonder what kind of patents did they come up with for the U.S. patent forward, the new patents they came up to install into the new vehicles, like how Canada's doing. Yeah, they were on a thing saying that just recently Ford created 100 patents and installing that into these vehicles. And point blank said, if you cannot mess with the vehicle at all with the technology in them. Okay. But then it answers, I got a question to ask. Okay, when this stuff breaks down, who's going to have to be the one that has to pay for the process of getting it repaired? Okay.
Well, the owner.
Yeah. Who do you go take it to?
Whoever the company tells you have to take it to. Has to be a licensed service representative.
I talk about the right to repairs argument all the time, and make arguments about companies demanding that you've got to use specific companies for repairs. And what was it? It was up to, I don't know, 20-30 years ago, it wasn't uncommon just to be able to get manuals just off your local bip shop that will tell you how to repair. Otto, you must remember the old sort of school kid sort of how to make your own crystalline
radio. We used to have a store here called Radio Shack, and you could go in there and buy all kinds of cool stuff. So you could do your own electronics hobby work and stuff. It was great. A lot of people did that. Of course, as the technology has become more complex, I think fewer and fewer people are taking that route. But I'm thinking about it with automobiles. I mean, I used to be able to work on cars. I used to have a 71 Monte Carlo. The engine was, I think, from a 68 Malibu. And I could actually do a lot on that engine because it was very simple. You just looked at it and you could see what was wrong. And parts to replace. If you took it apart, you could put it together again if you just remembered how you took it apart. And it would be seen as completely insane that you wouldn't be able to work on your own car or your own device or anything like that. But
some companies still provide schematics. I mean, the computer I'm using at the moment, an HP ZBooks, I can get the schematics, full schematics off, and devices like this, as an example, the old Raspberry Pis or the old Pis, the single board computers. I looked at them. You can get schematics for. This one you can get a schematic for. Schematic, so you know exactly what each of the chips and each of the cases.
Well, I would like for you to no longer use the term old pies because that's just inappropriate and pies.
PI.
Well, the pie, I know. I know what you're talking about, but they aren't old. People still use them, so don't.
Well, yeah, I use.
Don't disrespect the cool freaking device.
Like I've got various devices. An orange Pi Nano. I can get the full schematics on that.
You can build them. I can actually build one.
Yeah.
I mean,
but what I was referring to, like that one time, like a hearing aid. Okay. What is the process of a hearing aid? You know, what band of frequencies can a hearing aid pick up in its range of pick up sound?
So where do you come up with that when it comes to what we've been talking about?
Like technology, okay. Technology where everything works as one, but if you don't watch out, one can mess with the other.
Yeah, everything is a computer. Everything is a computer. I know that theory, that everything is computerized. Your refrigerator, your clothing.
Yeah, but with a radio, it has a.
I've seen clothing with like a computer built into it, a small keyboard, on your arm, headphones in your hood, a microphone in your collar, and probably you could get a pair of glasses that would have a display in them. Although it'd be really dangerous driving or even walking around with that. It's like, sorry, I was watching this great video on Twitter.
I mean, at the moment, as I've been talking to you guys about, I watched these misfit shine little what they were meant to be sort of clever sort of smart watches sort of devices.
That's what I was going to say. Your watches.
And I've changed this to a lapel pen, and I'm using just by sticking a small
that watch you
pin
have
on the back
right
of
there.
them, and then I can. I've not done any actual development on it yet, but only because I've only just received some
biometrics
wax to UV protection to
keep
the eyes clean. But I can. My plan is to actually use my smartphone to take control of this, so I can let's say flash up data from my watch.
Nice.
To this, or so if I get a notification or something, I can have it change color, or if I press it, I can have my audio play, my phone audio play, music player playing an audio.
You can just have it on your lapel. That's cool.
Yeah. I can just
glance down at your jacket. That's cool. That'd be, that could be a trend. That could be a trend you're starting there.
Having multiple devices interact with each other. So my watch is interacting with my phone. Again, this is interacting with the phone, and therefore the phone can act as a bridge between.
Right.
Yeah.
Does it have a Does it have a microphone in it?
No.
I was going to say it could replace your microphone too.
Now Dan has sent us a message.
But I
He
can
said,
use. I could also incorporate my Bluetooth headset
Ah,
into the.
okay. See, you're in the 21st century. I'm in the 20th, my friend. So that's a little, you're already 3 jumps ahead of me there.
Dan sent a message.
I'm still thinking of Captain Kirk.
He apologized for not being out. He said he's not going to be able to make it tonight. He's got a lot of extra work he has to do. So, which is fine. We don't need him right now. This is about highly intellectual, technical stuff, and
well, as a developer, as a software developer,
he's
they'll
not
be probably
qualified.
have views on that.
He's not qualified.
Well, when it comes to all this stuff,
I would almost bet. I would love to hear what he has to say about what we've been discussing tonight. To be honest with you, I think it would. I bet you he'd bring a lot of perspective to a lot of the stuff we've been discussing. To be honest with you.
so if they come up, they're talking about making like taking corn and materials like that and making it into where you don't no longer have to use plastic, and they're making it into like from beans, black-eyed beans, and all that. The materials
It's
from it.
soybean is what it is. They're using
Yeah.
soybean to make materials.
Yeah,
Better than eating it, I tell you.
Yeah.
and it'd be a lot less of. You don't have to use so much metals.
Well, see,
Or-
they're using soybean for petroleum too. Like
Yeah.
the majority of the stuff that's actually being grown isn't actually for consumption. Like most of the soybean is being used for fuel. It's also being used for manufacturing, things of that nature.
Nice.
Funny enough, some time ago, somebody gave me a small bag of, I think it was screws or something, and the bag was made out of. It looked like it was plastic, but it was totally biological, sort of, I don't know, some leaf compound.
Really?
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm talking about. Because they were talking about making stuff like this out of soybean.
Well, if you can
Yeah.
grow a crop and then regrow it the next year to make more stuff, that's more sustainable than like drilling for oil. And then if you run out, you've got to buy it from the country next door that might not like you much.
Yeah, but they're
Yeah.
talking like taking making a process of where instead of doing like you do with oil, you're doing with beans, the oil
Yeah.
from it,
Yeah.
and where it might take you, for it to be no longer any good. Like when you throw it away, it might be only good for 4 or 5 years in the landfill, but after that, it breaks apart and it just disappears.
Huh.
No longer contamination,
Right.
or people
Right.
get sick from methane gas.
Yeah, and again, if you have a resource that you can just plant in the ground and grow, if you're living in a country that doesn't have oil or plastic, other resources, if you can grow that, then you're not dependent on OPEC or whoever you're buying your fuel from. I mean, I think that's a big thing I've seen lately in the EU is energy security. They've shut down all their nuclear power plants and all their coal burning plants, and now they don't have any electricity, so they have to buy their fuel from
Well, no,
Russia and other places. But if they could grow their own fuel, they'd be a lot better off.
I can't think of what they call it, but it's something similar like a nuclear power plant, but it's not. It's where
Fusion?
it's leftover materials up from the power plant that they put into this this type of power plant, but it lasts for like 10 to 20 years. This stuff does. And it generates energy. Like if you have one, you can stick it in like, okay, the state of Florida, you might be sticking about like 12 of them in the state of Florida, and they'll
Right.
supply the state of Florida with energy for the next 10 to 20 years without cost.
Well,
And
I wouldn't be surprised because that so-called nuclear waste.
Yeah.
I've read that was really a kind of a scam, because what you've got when you get at the end of a nuclear process is you have an amazingly expensive. You have all these expensive isotopes. If you go and see how much nuclear quote unquote waste costs, I'm sure it's hundreds or thousands of dollars per gram. They have all kinds of applications for this stuff. They use it in medicine. and they're developing these new technologies like you're talking about, where it could be used for energy. But they went to the government and said, it's nuclear waste. We need help. And so the government subsidized building these huge underground storage facilities where they have all this nuclear, quote unquote, waste that is actually worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, but
and there's a lot of uses for that stuff.
You hear about the salt mine they did that with?
Yeah, they got a salt mine somewhere, but I think they dug it out further too. It's like really deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but the thing of it is, where that's not bad about using corn and all that for the process of manufacturing other things. Okay. And if they can figure out a way to eliminate, like, oil, instead of using regular oil for your vehicle, you could use that type of oil. And I did not know this. They're taking cotton seed and putting it through a process of withdrawing the oil out of the cotton seed and cooking it.
Right. Huh.
Well, if that's the case, why can't they do that with cars? Use the seed, that oil like that from that.
I've read that all the experiments and that, anyway. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, a big thing in the cannabis legalization movement was that you can make fuel out of cannabis. You could use, in fact, Henry Ford talked about using cannabis oil to fuel his vehicles. That was before they got really heavy into the petrochemical stuff. So there are a lot of technologies, but it comes down to, and it kind of came up earlier in our discussion, whether it's actually practical to do from an economic standpoint. When the Germans were losing the war, they came up with all sorts of synthetic fuel, but it was so costly to make, and that was their big problem, was energy, again, fuel. And there are a lot of these processes. The key is to make them cheap enough that they can be used on a large scale and make a big difference, as far as like your spending footprint when it comes to your country buying energy from somewhere. You want to be as self-sufficient as possible, it seems to me. If you can create your own energy, that's a plus for your country.
And I was wondering, you guys can explain this to me. In Canada, the AI thing. Within itself, the whole process of creating a vehicle. What places from Canada do other jobs apply from that place? Like motherboards for the computers of the car. Okay. Is there a place, or do they ship it from their home country to Canada to be put into the car, or does the parts get manufactured there in Canada?
That's an economic and a security question.
Yeah,
because you want to keep your manufacturing in your home country as much as possible.
Yeah,
and you don't want to, if a country turns hostile, again, we know that all of these countries have the ability to put back doors and switches, kill switches. It's a very persistent rumor, and I tend to believe it, that the French gave the British the off codes for the French weaponry that the Argentines were using during the Falklands campaign, or perhaps I should say Los Islas Malvinas campaign. I had a friend of mine. She was a college professor, and she had some friends down in the Falklands, and she would go apeshit if you said Los Islas Malvinas. She was like, "No, it's the Falklands." She was very pro Falklands.
I can think of a few people in this country that would be really annoyed by you saying that. So, yeah.
No, you cling to what you have left. It's like, and don't have Hong Kong anymore. Only a little bit of Ireland, and I wouldn't bank too much on keeping those 6 northern counties for much longer, my lad. I'm saying, no, just a thought. But
asking that question, okay, when technology from Canada, how does the UK, since Canada UK is part of the UK. All right. What? How does it?
Okay.
What is the technology field from Canada to the UK? How does it matches, or what? What is the how? What is it capable of doing? What it's not from the UK's point of view,
Not
since it's
much
part of
control.
the UK.
Canada, they do
Yeah.
what they want, basically, don't they?
Well, what do you call that? Where people from they from the time that they went from the U.S. to Canada during in the 1700s, they would still be they were still part of. They want to be still part of Canada. I mean
Yeah,
the UK.
Canada was still part of the UK, definitely
Yeah.
part of the empire. Yeah, yeah, they never
Okay.
really left. But I think
Yeah.
they're basically, I think I told you the story of my Canadian friend. There is a governor general up there sent by the crown, but I said, what if the governor general didn't do what the Canadian Parliament wanted? He said, well, we would send him back to London with a note: don't send us another.
Yeah.
It's kind of a fiction. It's like we will agree to do whatever the king says as long as what the king says is what we want to do anyway. I think is
But
how the Commonwealth more or less functions. I'm sure it's more subtle and a bit more nuanced than that, but that was always the impression I got. It's the free association for economic purposes more than anything else. I don't think they have much political control.
well,
Um,
but that's the thing. In what way? Because because when to me if you're because like there Canada supplies military personnel to the UK. The U as a person told me, UK will protect Canada with their military as well too, like the boats and all that goes there. Canada supply
well, there
back
must
and
be
forth.
some kind of Commonwealth common military aid kind of thing. I'm sure that Commonwealth countries would help each other. You would think.
Well, yeah, but no, yeah, but since they
I mean,
more or
it is
less
the Royal Australian Navy and the Royal Canadian Navy and the Royal New Zealand Navy, and that's Charles. So technically,
Also,
you would.
Canada and the UK are part of NATO anyway.
Well, yeah,
So
there's
if
that. But would NATO supersede the Commonwealth agreements?
yeah.
depends
I would think that.
on circumstances. I mean,
Yeah.
if let's say China attacks, as an example, theoretical example, if China attacks Canada, then Article 5 of NATO,
Right,
North
the NATO
Atlantic
thing
Treaty.
would step in,
But
but
see,
Uh,
with me, I don't see it as being like an attack that would happen. A lot of people overlook bricks. Now, when it comes to the United Monetary Fund, their competitor is BRICS, and BRICS is what China, Iran, Venezuela. I don't know if Venezuela was a part of
all
it.
those countries on the way out.
Yeah, no, those,
Yeah.
it's become a big competition. I really think that like with Canada, it's going to be more of China taking over their economy.
Okay. When I said attack, I meant actual military attack rather
Yeah,
Yeah,
than
we were
economic.
talking about military.
well,
I
wait,
mean,
wait.
I don't see that though.
That economic attack is more likely, and it's been ongoing for a long time. I mean, I think we're in a kind of a war with China, a trade war and a diplomatic war, the Belt and Road Initiative, and I mean they've been fighting this. We've been fighting Bush wars and what do they call proxy wars for a long time.
Yeah,
If Roberta were here, she could talk about Chinese and Soviet backing of the communist guerrillas that overran her country. And that was a long. We're old. It was a long time ago, and it's been ongoing to this day. Shining Path guerrillas down in the definite Maoist Shining Path guys down in South America, and this whole idea of the Belt and Road Initiative to basically bypass the oceans and bypass the fact that, well, at one time the British, now the American Navy runs those basically. So yeah, I think China is very patient and very old. They do think in terms of centuries, I think, when it comes to their foreign policy. We think in terms of the next 4 years. So yeah, they have an
And
edge
they're
there, I'm
thinking
afraid.
of into the future too, because you look at for what they're doing. Okay, the robot situation. They're
Oh, yeah.
high tech of it.
Oh, yeah.
They're
And they're going
thinking
to set them up on the moon. They're going to go
Yeah.
to the moon and set that up. I mean,
Well,
that's
just
half
not
the reason
that.
we're getting a base up there. Do you really want a Chinese base full of nuclear missiles sitting on top of that gravity well? We're down. They don't even need to use propellant. They just like nudge it. It'll
but
hit.
One thing that our motto has demonstrated in the West, governments come and go. Well, in theory, once every 5 years, and therefore governments only look towards that 5 year, the so-called 5 year plan. These are
Yeah.
Nazi. These are the wider. But whereas China, their idea is that the Communist Party (CCP) will last forever. Therefore, why worry about what happens in the next 5 years?
Right. Right. And V has rejoined us right in time when we're talking about the Chinese Communist Party. I wonder if that's a coincidence.
Yeah, but hey,
Well,
Lee,
you
let
know,
me ask you a
power to
question.
the people.
When you were
Yeah.
looking at the things that patents, did you ever see what the Ford what they're adding to it?
Word?
Yeah, Ford, the car dealership, the big car
Ford?
company.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Huh.
they've been over.
What-
They're
what about
getting 100 patents for new cars that they're going to be starting manufacturing. That's going to be installed worldwide.
You've got legal frameworks, you've got consumer choice.
Right.
Yeah,
And
but
it's-
if you do not know about it, that's the thing.
There's regulatory. In the UK, the laws that will state that consumers should have the opportunity to know what is inside the devices.
Okay, and even if they do,
That
what can they
can be
do
done.
about it?
Right? Oh, then if they didn't want to have those items, then they won't buy them, won't they?
Okay, so how does the
You
government?
would have to
handle that?
link me. You have to link me your information because I don't know anything about this.
Well, I found out by on the thing about their Ford has got
And also
patents
patents are
for
publicly accessible anyway, aren't they? Yeah,
Huh?
all patents are publicly accessible anyway.
They kind of have to be, or you
Yeah,
don't know that you're violating them.
well, not necessarily because that 1951 law about patents. If it's a government national security
Oh, they can
risk,
classify a patent.
Yeah, but
But then you wouldn't have it.
Ford isn't a US
yeah.
government agency.
Yeah, but what I'm
It's a
referring to
private
is
sector
that,
company.
well, in a way that you do got to watch out for that because if you're a military personnel, high up in the military, and you got your base has got that eye retinal in it where you got to stick your eye there and let that does the process. But at any point in time, them cameras in the vehicle can do the same thing, take a copy.
For,
Oh, yeah.
for streaming purposes, I'm gonna explain what Robert's talking about with this 1951 patent thing. It's the Secrecy Act of 1951, which allows the United States government to keep certain patent applications confidential and block them from being granted if public disclosure would harm national security. That's what he's talking about.
What
Yeah,
what,
but we
what
are
did I
talking
say
about-
yesterday? What have
But
I
we're
been
not
saying?
talking about consumer available products.
Right. They wouldn't allow them to build it in the first place because they'd
Yeah.
seize the patent. And if you couldn't patent it, you couldn't use it.
Now, prior
It's
to
a
that
it's
act,
suddenly that
The
information.
NSA has blocked over 6,000 patents thus far.
Now, prior
Watch
to
my
that,
perpetual motion machine.
Now
I
you
tested
believe me?
15 different models, and they still won't grant it. I've got it worked out this time. Perpetual motion, my friends. No.
Again, I will point out the US isn't the only market in the world.
Well,
Not
yeah.
yet.
But since
Give us
what I'm
time.
referring to
If
is
I
like
had
in
something-
Mexico, U.S., the Ford company went down to Mexico like a lot of them did, built a plant down there, a 22-acre plant. Well, a lot bigger than what here in the U.S. And the front end of it is set up to where when the cars get manufactured there, they wheel out to the yard, and it's sitting there right there in the U.S.
Yeah.
But the thing of it is, the technology for what they're talking about, since it's in Mexico, how does that percent on that? You know, they gotta get copywritten material from Mexico where it protects it from Mexico.
Well, I'm sure that they would patent.
I don't know, but for
patents
the
in whatever
record,
country they're
I
operating
would
in.
never. If I ever come up with something like perpetual motion or an engine that runs off water, if I ever come up with something like that, I'm not going to take it to the U.S. government. That's for sure. I would probably take it to some poor country, some third world country. I'd soak up the entire freaking economy with them buying it and let them become the next superpower with that tech. Or if that doesn't work, just give out the information for free.
Well,
I would make sure it's posted everywhere.
You'd like that book, The Star Is My Destination. You ever read that, V? Alfred Bester? Star Is My Destination.
No.
You would love that book. It's kind of like something like that. And I would say my first thought is if you discovered something really cool like that, V, knowing you, you'd pull a Captain Nemo. Remember Captain Nemo? He invented this amazing submarine weapon system. So he built it for himself. Screw that, giving it to a government. It's going to be my ship. I'm going to follow my agenda.
I would do a Captain Nemo, dude. I would do a Captain Nemo. Definitely.
There you go.
Now, just so you know, with the secrecy law, it implies to inventions which happened in 1951. Before that, but I'm going to give you a little good news. They only last a year, but they can be redone each year indefinitely.
Oh, like reapply.
And if the inventor wants to get compensation from the government, he can apply for it.
That ain't bad.
So.
Well, I already have about 10 inventions that I want to get patented, and I plan on not getting it patented here. I would rather go to China, really. I would rather go, well, not China per se.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They might not like
somebody
you.
the US doesn't like. Maybe Russia or somebody. Maybe like Russia or something.
Japan.
Thailand. I'm not going to do it in the U.S.
Thailand.
You heard Otto's story about that,
It's
didn't
Buddhist.
Didn't you hear the story that Otto said that Robert stole the other day, where the guy said that he invented this thing and the emperor sat and listened to it?
Oh yeah. I think that was Tiberius. Yeah. That was I forget who wrote about that.
So if you go to China, dude, expect.
They said, "Oh, this
Well,
is
China would just flat out rip me off.
No, they would kill you, dude.
Well, China would just flat out rip me off.
Oh no.
I'm pretty sure. But
and he'll come on TV every so often saying, "I am very happy to be here in the People's Republic. It's a wonderful place."
I forget what country, but
bandages on your head. It's like, yes, I'm very pleased. I fell down the stairs.
Got a bloody eye and shit with a smile and a missing tooth.
Oh, hell, the glorious revolution.
Oh no. They would have a big old.
They
would have a big old woman with big,
yeah,
sitting there next to him, like.
Oh,
you can fill that in.
Feed them the carrot instead of the stick.
Well,
you behave.
Well, I talked to my wife about this, and she is absolutely like. I told her I might go to Russia with my first invention, because I don't need to own 100% of it. I only need to own 90% of it.
Right.
If I could have 10% of it, I'm still going to be extremely wealthy, and I get the rest of my patents done all by myself.
Yeah,
So it's like, I just need a starter. And she's like, "You want to go to Russia? You're crazy." She hates Russians.
Well, she's from Poland, so they don't like Russians. They have a history.
Yeah.
You know, Poland used to own
They have a
Russia.
history.
They're a little busy. You ever see maps of like Poland back in like the 1400s and 1500s? Like huge, man. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the Polish
Yeah.
landlords ran Russia. It was amazing. So yeah, there's history there. There's history there. It's like France and England.
But what I was asking is now, for like the AI car manufacturers building them AI cars, okay? How many businesses comes up get supported by that company? I understand about the programming. Yeah, you ain't gonna want the programming.
Well, Robert, we did that last night, and I just
No, I'm
mentioned.
talking-
No, I mean we
Again,
there's tons of them. Like,
Parts.
not all of them. Like every single automotive company that is out there is pushing this stuff. It's going to get to the point where you're not going to be able to take any of these freaking sensors off of your car, because if you do, it just won't run.
well, that's down to legal regulations in said nation.
No, I was just talking about how many businesses supplies that place with parts. Okay, that's what I'm referring.
Oh
to.
yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
actually parts manufacturing is where they make a lot of their money from a car. You know,
Yeah.
they sell you the car, but then they have to sell the parts for the repair. And I remember a thing once
you
where
put it together.
if you took a car that cost like, you know, back then like $5,000 and you like bought each part separately, you put the same car together for like, you know, 10 times the amount, simply because of the money they make off the parts.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that is a heavy industry.
Referring to the show that we did last night, I literally covered all this stuff with Robert and Roger.
See, I missed a lot of that last night.
Yeah.
We even
Person
listed off the name of the manufacturers that are doing a lot of this stuff.
Just on the point of regulation, I remember just last year there was a lot of conversations in the EU about banning touchscreen mechanisms within cars.
Really? Automobiles? Really?
I believe that there was talk about having a bill. I don't know where that's gone to. I've not done the research since. But Tesla cars of vehicles are well known for having touchscreen mechanisms.
Yeah.
And the argument that that was pushed in the EU was something on the line that touch screens are too
Sensitive?
no, distracting. Too distracting.
Oh,
You
really?
actually got to physically look at where you're touching, whereas a big knob on a car, you don't actually have to physically look at where the knob is because you can.
Yeah. Good point. I can see that argument.
Well, see,
You know, I
I
can see
find
that
that as,
argument.
I see that as being ignorant, because the implications are a lot worse. Like, these people don't realize what happens when you touch that screen. We were just talking the other day about barometrics and taking fingerprints off the phone for verification.
Right.
So every
Well,
time,
they've already got my fingerprints. I mean,
every
I
time you
don't
touch
care.
these electronic devices, they can actually use barometrics to find out what your fingerprints are, find out everything about you. I mean, it's insane. And then people are worried about dumb shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, these people can literally take your fingerprints.
what are they going to do with it, though?
Frame you.
They can steal every penny you got
They
out of your bank
could.
account.
I'm sorry
Again,
about
this is down to regulatory frameworks, and legal regulatory
Steal your
frameworks.
identity.
Well, they are bastards. I agree with that. I hate
Yeah.
they are bastards. They do all kinds of shit like that. But I mean, I think that, yeah, you got to look out for bad actors. You got to look out for people ripping off your information so they can use it themselves.
Yeah,
And that to me is the biggest threat, is if your information's out there. Again, I'm less worried about the government, because the government knows where I am. If they want to come and get me, they're not going to bother framing me or something like that. They'll just come and shoot me. I mean, really, it's not that complicated. There are people I'm sure they would do that to. It wouldn't be me, though, I don't think. But on the other hand, you got these bad actors. If you get some stupid kid, we were talking earlier about these bullies holding stuff for ransom. Yeah, I'm worried about those guys really getting that information. That's why I don't want them to have my fingerprint. Again, the government's got my fingerprint. You know, I mean, shit.
What I'm referring to is back in the 80s. Okay, this guy was prosecuted for first-degree murder. Okay, and what happened is this person took his identity and all that, took his bottle that he was drinking out of, took it home, put that tape over the top of where the fingerprint is.
Right.
Put it on the knife. It did. He put it back where he killed that person. He framed him for it. Okay, and put like the bottle that with his DNA in it from his mouth, showing that he was there, the knife and all that. He knew the person that died. So when it comes to when the cops looking up on who everybody that person knew, this person popped up.
Right.
They did not know anything about what this other guy did.
But they did figure it out eventually because we're talking about it. So
that reminds me of
but after he was sent to prison.
Well, DNA
that
first.
reminds me of either a Columbo or a Murder She Wrote episode.
Well, that wouldn't even apply because the 80s didn't have DNA technology. It was more in the 90s whenever that was more. That would be more.
Wow, the years go by, man. What happens to those years? You know, you blink and talk about stuff, and I start counting backwards, and like, that was 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Like, I enjoy watching Murder, She Wrote because they don't have DNA evidence. I don't have to watch NCIS or CSI, you know what I mean, where they have to do all this technical research inside of a nerdy-ass freaking office, you know, like that old lady she did honest detective work because she was a novelist.
Yeah, there was a lot of guesswork. I remember that you were talking about fish earlier. So it was you who battered that bloke over there.
There
you go. You're starting to get it, dude.
No, my favorite is when they've got the mystery and they've got like all this stuff, and it's like, but who did the murder? Why, it was the plumber that came in chapter 2 for 3 minutes. Little did you know that they had a history going back to India where he had like shot a tiger out from under him. So he vowed his revenge and waited 30 years, disguised himself as a plumber. It's like, explain all this shit on the last page. Like, what?
I gotta tell you, my dark indulgence. I've really gotten to enjoy the neighborhood, and they've got this part on there. Where the Sons found an old manuscript of this guy who used to live in their house that wrote a story, and he wrote it all the way to the end except for the last page. And they got obsessed with who actually did the murder, so they hunted him down. Okay. And when they finally got to him, everybody's telling them all along it was the butler. And these guys are like, he's only in like 3 pages and stuff. He gets to the end and then bam, it was the butler. You know what I mean?
It wasn't me. It was the one-armed man.
That's right. I remember that show. David Jansen. Yeah, I used to watch that when I was a kid.
The TV series was way better than the movie. I'm going to say that right now.
Oh, I never saw the movie. I just saw the TV series. I didn't know there was a movie.
Harrison Ford was horrible in that movie, man.
Harrison Ford was the fugitive?
Yes.
Wow. I didn't see. I'm completely out of touch with mainstream culture.
This is why I like the old 1950s and 60s episodes of Dragnet, because they actually follow through on the procedural sort of side.
They do. They're amazingly accurate, actually. Have you ever watched Adam 12, which was the Dragnet sequel? It was like Dragnet, except it was patrol officers, and it was basically the same thing. And what struck me was I used to watch Dragnet and Adam 12 a lot when I was a kid, and then when I grew up, they started showing these police shows where they have dash cam footage. And they I think they had a show called Cops where they would show actual traffic stops and things and coping with drunks. And what got me was that when I watched the Cops, all the dialogue, it was exactly like Adam 12, except they cussed. But otherwise, and like you said, it's all procedural. They would actually take actual arrest records and cases and write a script from it. including the dialogue, like, ask the guy to get out of the car. He said this, he said that, and they would replay it. And of course, on TV back then, nobody said, all these words that you hear when you watch the cop shows. And the guy, I wasn't fucking drunk, kind of deal. It's much more genteel. But yeah, I love those old shows because they really did stick close to. I'm like, it's like, damn, this is Adam 12, except with cuss words. This is great.
We gotta get you to read a script as a drunk guy.
Drunk guy.
Okay, so
That was awesome.
I used to do this drunken character, Seamus O'Hooligan, my drunken Irish guy, Seamus O'Hooligan. Jesus bloody hell. You took me country, you took everything, you bastards. It was wonderful before the white man came here and took my slave name of O'Keefe away from me and gave me the name of O'Keefe. It's terrible. Fucking Brits. Not to mention those Christ-killing bastards that destroyed me country, killed me, sweet Jesus. I'm sorry, I don't mean to.
well,
Anyway, yeah.
Well, when I do Irish accents, I actually sound Jamaican.
yeah, we know.
Yeah, you've been Jamaican love. We know what you've been Jamaican,
now,
dude.
I'm actually this is coming up to close to the end of the episode, and what I want to do is this is the final episode of Untethered for the tech talk kind of editions. So
Tech talk.
yeah, so for the last part, I want to get each of your take on what we've discussed so far and what your thoughts are when it comes to technology and things like that. Like, because like I said, this is the final episode for the technology edition for Untethered. We're going to do 2 more, and then we're going to move on to Roger's Real-Time Talk Show event.
Yeah.
So, I want to get your guys' take on what you think when it comes to technology and how it's coming to be, and what you think about how people should behave when it comes to that. So so with that being said, first I want to let Mark make his comments to get it out of the way, because I know it's going to be good.
Okay. 2 simple words even. Caveat emptor. Users, customers, people, read those terms of service agreements, read those contracts, understanding what you are signing up for, understanding what you're buying. And leave it like that.
Okay, so with that being said, go ahead, Otto. Tell everybody what you want to say.
Well, as far as technology goes, well, I'll take an auto kind of a look at that. And I think one of the things about technology is I think we are getting to a point where we are tending to adapt ourselves to our technology, whereas it seems to me that the whole point of technology is to adapt the world around us to our needs. So we need to keep a clear head with any technology we use, whether it's a napped flint or a laptop computer or an automobile. I don't want us to lose our humanity. And, again, I get back to Star Trek. I think of Captain Kirk using his AI, and I think of the way people are using AI today. And I think Captain Kirk shows us the way. These are tools for us to use. We should not allow ourselves to become tools as well. We need to keep basically the upper hand. Bob and I were talking about AI a lot. We talked, at one time, and it comes down to agency. If you're talking to the AI, it's a mirror, and it can mirror all kinds of things. If you're having a psychological journey, it can be very useful creatively or this or that. But if you suddenly stop regarding it as a mirror and look to it for answers, if you're surrendering your agency to what is basically a reflection of you, you're in a great deal of danger. So I guess the thing is, with technology, we have to remember that we're the humans, we have the off button, and we should be using and enjoying this stuff, but not letting it harm our humanity. There, that's nice and.
No, that was pretty good. Now,
yeah,
with that being said,
Pollyanna, but
this is getting into the hardcore stuff, because of course now we gotta ask V to tell us.
We have to. We've gotta.
This is gonna be good. So prepare yourself. Go V.
Well, I think people should do something like what I do. you can live a life with your technology, but then again, you got to have a double life. You need to live a life that's not surrounded by technology.
Hmm.
You want to because you have you have two identities essentially, anyways, right? You got that straw man, right? That name on your ID, right? That's what the government knows. But the government doesn't actually know you, doesn't own you as an entity. They think they own your corpse, but hey, you make sure that you have one hand that doesn't know what the other hand is doing. You can essentially prop up your own virtual straw man, and then live your real life outside of that. It's the only way to actually really survive in a technical world, and a technical world ruled by technocrats that are very greedy and don't have your best interest at heart. So you must have your own best interest at heart. Feed them the scraps they think they want, and you have to live outside of that to your fullest.
Just to reiterate
No,
something
hold
on that
on.
point, to use a term that is cool with kids, touch grass,
Touch
at least
grass.
occasionally.
There you go. Or smoke it for that matter, if necessary.
Okay,
I knew you were going to say
Of course.
that.
so now we come to Robert. Robert,
Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
now when you say this, let's stay away from genetically modified meats and just stick to technology.
Okay. Well, to me, with technology, there's a wide variety. Like they got where they take the DNA from you to manufacture in your ear or body parts. Technology does that. Okay, that's good. Like with all the new stuff that they're coming out with for medical, as long as it's all being processed in a good common way, not where it's just more harm than good, and where it's reasonable price. Where when you go see your doctor, and the doctor is able to afford to have the process done. With the medical, the way that they're talking about prices, with the technology, and with
Yep.
all these new vehicles, you want to with any kind of technology, you want to make sure, like everyone said, it doesn't interfere in regular day life. Where when everything's all run by technology, where does the common thing comes from? Where you can watch TV without worrying about the internet or the height, the Wi-Fi in the TV. Where before you could always watch it when you had the two signals, and since the government took off the UVA or how I forget what that
VHF,
huh?
VHF.
Yeah, since
UHF,
they're
yeah.
using that
And
for
it was
broadcast.
consumer choice, but
Yeah, but they use that for now for broadcast, third to face to face. And you would think that with all the new stuff that's coming out, be a lot more better results in health because they you would think that they could be able to tell you blockages in your body, damages to your veins
Okay,
in your
so
body.
we're doing final thoughts. Okay, what's your final thoughts when it comes to all of what we've been discussing so
Well,
far?
I just hope that things don't go too far with it. So who knows what the prices and the difficult from it for everyone. Like when you get cars, these new electric cars, or what is the process of getting it fixed?
So, with that, I mean, I guess that's the best way to bring it to an end. I do want to mention that we have talked about a lot of good topics when it comes to technology. I
How
think
about,
this
how about
is,
yourself, Roger? Have you got any summary?
yeah, I can say a few things. I really do like the conversations that we have now. One thing that I've noticed is like especially when it comes to AI, a lot of people are building into the hype that this is supposed to be set in place for AI efficiency and it's supposed to be lower cost. Whereas I believe it was the last time we had this conversation, I was talking about NVIDIA, how they admitted that AI efficiency was basically a lie. It costs more money for them to actually implement AI than what it was to actually have somebody do the humans, for the manual work and everything. Um, that's what I found interesting. And then like today, I was mentioning the situation with Nintendo Switch and how they're bringing the prices up on this game product because they're saying that it's because of the amount of money that's going to be applied on AI plus, tariffs. Whereas afterwards, we started getting into these conversations about how they are using it in manufacturing to actually lower the cost and make it cheaper and more efficient, supposedly. So for me, that's the thing I'm talking about it all being one big scam. Like they want to feed you a bunch of information that's just not true, and you get mixed signals about what's really happening. You know what I mean? And that's something that I think that a lot of us need to be aware of. And I get this weird sense when it comes to a lot of this stuff. Like when it comes to AI, I do believe that it's more commercialized, it's more branding. But at the same time, I also have this feeling like maybe we should let AI do a lot of this stuff because I think actual work and actual manual labor and things that you do in the real world when it comes to work is being completely lost because everybody's getting caught up in the technology and the internet and the network, and everybody thinks that these jobs working for freaking UPS or FedEx are freaking the only jobs available for you when in reality it's not. I hope there's a part of me that hopes that humans are actually going to go back to doing real jobs and stop worrying about freaking delivering freaking packages for UPS,
Or even worse, just jobs where all you're doing is just replying to emails or just looking at spreadsheets all day.
Let AI take care of that crap, and then maybe humans will start actually going out and doing real jobs and take their focuses off of that stuff because that's all fabricated in the first place. I mean, to be honest with you, that is the type of stuff that the AI should have been doing anyhow. It should, like, humans shouldn't be sitting behind a desk freaking doing freaking something that an AI program can be doing. They should be able to freaking work in a factory if they want to work in a factory or a warehouse or whatever, or doing a real job where they're actually moving.
The dignity of work, yeah. Well, maybe the AIs will take over the internet, and then none of us will have to bother with it anymore. We can just do things. We can like look at the sun and go out and touch grass, as Mark says, or work on our projects, create things, and let the AI take care of all the boring stuff.
But the manufacturing thing is kind of disturbing too, though. Like with the whole dark factories and dark warehouses and stuff. That is pretty disturbing. That really does cut into people's labor, like actual work. So I do want to say that is an issue. That's all.
On the point of
well, let me add one more thing really quickly. So diversify your portfolio. Protect your neck. Wu-Tang.
Okay.
Just a couple more. On the point of memory and cost hikes, remember supply and demand. If there's more demand than supply, there'll be more supply, and
Right.
be more efficient ways of supplying. Therefore, costs will go down. Less unfair
Right.
markets, and also don't jump on the hype just because some company executive is calling something artificial intelligence.
All
Might
right.
not be. Might just be an automated system. I don't know, a machine screwing holes into widgets. That's not
Right.
artificial intelligence. That's just an automated function machine.
They never describe these things accurately. When you think about it, Virgin Galactic did not go to other galaxies. Starship does not fly to the stars. Artificial intelligence is not intelligent. It's an LLM. But we have to call these things something. But hopefully most people are inured to this and realize, although I don't think they do, just because they call it Starship. Well, I'm not going to Alpha Centauri. Just because they call it artificial intelligence, I'm not in the Star Trek universe quite yet.
Do you remember dummy phones?
Dummy phones?
Yeah.
Sounds familiar. Remind me.
Phones, you mean?
What'd
You
you
mean
say?
just normal old Nokia free web or flip phones?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I got. That's
what
making fun of me.
They used to call them dummy phones. So it's
Smartphones. Yeah, remember, smart devices are not necessarily smart. Smartphones,
now
smartphones are actually quite stupid.
So with that being said, I want to say thank you again to Bob Dub for posting more emojis in the YouTube chat. Thank you for stopping in, Bob Dub, again. And I believe that's the only ones that we've had in the chat. So I do want to do a shout out there. I also want to say sorry we missed you too, Tan High Tran. And I hope you get your work done and finished, and we'll be here next week whenever you have time to come in. If you have time tonight, you can stop in. We're still doing headlines after midnight if Mark is still awake and available to do it. He might get tired and fall asleep on us. So
I'm getting yawning, but I'd make another Earl Grey or coffee or something on, let the caffeine does do its job.
So with that being said, let's give out socials. I'll ask for you to give your socials first, since you're the easiest one to get them from.
Okay. Again, minds.com, username Medworthy.
Okay, how about you, Otto? How can people get in touch with you?
Well, check out my website, navakavada.org. That's NAVAKAVADA. It's spelled just like it sounds. Otherwise, probably the simplest way to look for me is minds.com, username Otto_X, and I spell it EX the fancy way. And usually you can find me anywhere you find Roger online.
All right. And like before, I'll do like I did before. If you want to get in touch with me, Robert Hansen, or V, who is in a secret, isolated location away from the public because he is the infamous V. You can find
the infamous.
You can find all
the mysterious.
Incomparable. Oh wait, no. What did you call me yesterday?
VD.
Oh, incomparable. the incomparable.
Incomparable.
Yes, the incomparable.
VD incomparable. So if you want to find us, you can find us on Roger's Hangout, which is on Elements Matrix, and it's on Teams. I don't usually get on Teams, but V is in there as well. So and so's everybody pretty much. So if you can't get in touch with me, you can get in touch with somebody else on the show. I am also on minds.com, Roger_Hansen, and I'm Roger Hansen at ROGLOL1973 on X. Now, for everybody who is interested, you can find our streams on Rumble, Kick, YouTube, Twitch when it's going live. And that would be at the Praetorian on both Rumble and YouTube, as well as Roger Hansen on Kick and Infamous 1969 on Twitch. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, make comments down in this comment section. We'd love to hear your feedback, and we will talk to you later.